Well, thank you all so much for being here today. I think I had a chance to meet everyone, but if I didn't, my name is Jonathan Ingram, and it's my honor to be the executive director of Faith Co-op. We are a nonprofit here in Chattanooga, and our mission is to help awaken Christians to how their faith brings daily purpose. So often we go through life and we do our really spiritual things like go to church and our quiet time or go to a small group. But what we want to help Christians in Chattanooga think about is how their faith isn't just something that encourages them, but goes with them in the places God calls them to be throughout the week. And we focus specifically on this thing we do 40 to 60 hours a week of your life, which is go to a job, which is work. And we do a lot of different things around town and offer lots of different things for people to engage with, to enter into these conversations. On your table there are a few little handouts that you can take. Feel free to take any of those with you that give you a little sense of all the things we offer. We have 2 fellowships that we put on that are 9 months long for professionals and recent college grads to engage with. We have this Lunch and Learn series that you're at today. We do these every other month with different topics. We have a class that we do in churches called Faith and Work 101. It's a 6-week class where we'll come in and we'll help teach a Sunday school or a Wednesday night and talk about what the Bible says about this thing we do 40 to 60 hours a week of our life. And we also have something called our Faith-Driven Network. And this is specifically designed for entrepreneurs and investors who are trying to think about how their faith informs the businesses that they're building and the businesses and things that they're trying to invest in their life. We believe all these things matter to God. And we're really excited that you're here to join in on this conversation. You're going to hear some content up here and some stories and hopefully some encouragement, but I hope also the people that you're sitting with, that this is an encouraging time to meet other people of faith in different industries around town that can go beyond just some macaroni and cheese around the table, but can be relationships that continue on. We are in a 6-part series right now in our Lunch and Learn series called Who is My Neighbor? Last year, our series was Reimagining Work, and we had different industry leaders from all over the city come in and talk about what it meant for them to reimagine their work in light of the gospel. And a phrase that every single person said that we had come up was this idea that the Bible talks about how we're called to love God and love our neighbor, and that principle drives their work. But we didn't have time to dive into that. So this year, we're taking that question of who is my neighbor? What does that actually mean in different industries around town? So back in August, we had an event with a marketing agency, Whiteboard, where we looked at what it looks like in that space to love their neighbor. Who are their stakeholders? Today, we are going into another industry. Today, we're going to talk about financial advising and wealth management. And I'm so thankful to have Teresa Whitton and Jody Riggs here. Teresa from Southeastern Trust, Jody Riggs from Riggs & Associates come and share a little bit about their journey, why they're in the fields that they're in, and how the Lord is showing up and what it means for them in light of their faith to walk faithfully and with love into the place of employment that they're called to be. So if you guys come up, so you guys could help me welcome Jody and Teresa to the stage. Thank you guys for being here. Well, I want to start by just I said really quickly your name and where you work, but tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us about your company and how did you get started in the work that you're doing?
Hi, thank you. In 92, my husband, we were living in Macon, Georgia. My husband took a job in Chattanooga. I had a 4-week-old, and so we moved here, and I decided I was not going to do auditing anymore, and literally answered an ad. Yes, there's a lot of young people here. That's how we used to do it. Answered an ad for this concept of financial planning, which was really not the buzzword that it is today. It was a new thing. And so started a new career, started a business of financial planning in 92. My husband was the main breadwinner, which allowed me the luxury to build my business slowly, where, there are times you don't get a paycheck and all those things. And I was able to just build it. My first client was my realtor, first person I met in Chattanooga. And so slow, and one client at the time, built that up. Fast forward to 2007, I had 2 people working with me, and my husband's job was changing, and we saw an opportunity to really make a bigger impact through my work. And so we very prayerfully set out to think, how would it be if he joined? And so he started coming one day a week, and we saw how that would go. We'd been married 20 years at the time. And so there's a whole nother series on working with your spouse. But he brought a skill set that I do not have. He is the visionary and the strategic mindset, and it allowed me to work more in the business and him on the business. Since that time, we've done a couple of acquisitions, continued to change our structure to better serve our clients. And so now we have a team of 14, and it's still as fun as it's always been, but it doesn't look like it used to look like.
Hey, thanks everybody for coming today. My journey also started in 1992, but I had a 9-month-old, and I've always enjoyed working, and so I knew I didn't want to stay at home. I had a 5-year-old and a 9-month-old, and I'd been home since the 5-year-old was born, and I was ready to go back to work. Didn't matter what, really. I just wanted a part-time job. And so, because I still felt like my calling was to be at home, but I needed out of the house. And so I called up one of my HR friends that had been in banking with me at the old Pioneer Bank back in the day. And she said, hey, I've got this part-time job, 2 days one week, 3 days the next. I'm like, that's perfect. In trust at American National Bank, which is now Truist Bank. And I said, well, okay. And I would have Googled trust, but we didn't Google. But I did not know what trust and wealth management meant. But got the job because had that friend in HR. And literally the rest has just been an amazing path that it could never have been orchestrated if it wasn't God. Literally, I started in trust simply because I just wanted to get out of the house a little bit, and stayed with American National for about 20 years, and left them in trust that entire time. Was managing the trust department here in Chattanooga when I left to go to FSG Bank, which was under a consent order at the time, and our jobs had been eliminated here in Chattanooga at what was then SunTrust, and it's like had a couple of other offers because I'd been in the industry a while, and had a couple of other offers, but I'll never forget. I was sitting on Macaulay Avenue at a red light, and I had peace like I've never had. That you're going to FSG Bank, and I'm like, but Lord, have you read the news? It's not good over there right now, and. But that was exactly where he wanted me. And in 2018, Mike Kramer, Bart Rowland, and I had the opportunity to put together some investors and actually buy the trust department from FSG Bank. And that is Southeastern Trust Company. And so that was 5 years ago in June. We're getting ready to move to a new building. We just bought the church at 901 Lindsay, and we'll be relocating there, and my favorite neighbors are here today with me from Setco, and again, just a journey that only God could have put together.
So you guys have been in this industry for a long time. What are some of the things that you just love about the work that you get to do? And then if you wouldn't mind sharing on the flip side, what are some of the challenges that you have to face regularly? Either of you could go first.
There's a lot to love. I got into accounting because I love math. I love the tidiness of math and calculation and problem solving, but I love people more. And what I was not getting when I was auditing was the idea that through human connections and relationships, I was seeing an impact of the work that I was doing. And so what I love the most is that every client situation is different. Even if after 30 years, you've seen and heard a lot of situations that are similar, but that person is different, and their fears are different, and their needs are different. So the idea to continually be a student, not only of the industry and finance and tax laws, but also of people, is the part that I love the most. The clients, my team, all that come in our doors. The challenges, I think sometimes you're having to communicate a message that's not easy to deliver. I think we all have that in every field. And as a pleaser and an accommodator personality, that's not always what I enjoy the most. But I feel strongly that integrity includes being able to speak the kind truth. And so that would be a challenge. And then maybe the challenge of balancing what is our product, what is our value proposition, how do we do our work, who's doing the work, and keeping them motivated and challenged and equipped. And then the business side. You know, you have to think about things like profitability and such. And so balancing my time and energy and resources between those three things, I would say, is a continual challenge. One of the ways I manage that challenge is the person I married, who, remember, has those different skill sets. But I think the answer for anybody is, surrounding yourself with people who do have some of those gifts that you don't, that you can lean into and trust them with. So,
And that's where our similarities end. I hate math. Okay. I hate all things math. So as a matter of fact, I wrote that on my notes, that is not what got me in the business. I love people, and I love relationship. And so that is the absolute best thing about what our team does every day. And I think that's why I enjoy trust so much. Banking is very transactional. You do a transaction, you're in and out. I started as a teller, so quick transactions, in the door, out the door, how you doing, and that kind of thing. But I like a deeper relationship, and in this industry, in trust and wealth, you truly get to dig deep. When you're talking about people's life savings, or even if it's a personal injury lawsuit settlement, any way that you're dealing with someone's money, it's important to all of us. Right? It's the reason I got up and, got dressed today, right? I love what I do. I love my work. I love doing it for God. But at the end of the day, we all got bills to pay, right? So when someone trusts you with what truly, after God, family, and church, is something that's truly that important to them, you develop a relationship, and you really do. It's serious. It's very, very serious. And I know Jody feels the same way. When I look at someone's IRA, or I look at their investment account, and I'm on the other side. I do administration, and Jody does actual investing. So we kind of have different roles within this industry, but it's a big deal that they've let you work with something that they have built their life together. And so that would be a challenge, would be the burden of making sure we're always being the absolute best fiduciary we can be for our clients. And I'll go a little further to say that 31 years ago, there wouldn't have been two females sitting on this stage. And so I'm always real careful not to, it is what it is. I think we can all make our way, and you do that 30 years ago or 50 years ago or today. But it was a challenge, and I will say that in 2023, it's a whole lot better, but it's not perfect by any means in our world. And so I will say that that's a challenge that is very real in our industry.
No, thank you for sharing that. I think that's a really important observation that maybe we'll dive into later. We'll see. But I want to go back to you guys talking about caring for the clients that come in your door. I meet with lots of people around town, and an observation I've made, I think I told you all this, is that doctors and financial advisors walk into some of the parts of people's lives that we don't like to talk about with anyone, and it leads to real trust. Like, there is a real trust that's needed to allow someone to see under the hood of our finances or our health, and so you guys really have a chance. And so in this topic of who is my neighbor, before we get into who all the other stakeholders maybe are there, this is the main person that you are, people you're dealing with are your clients that are trusting you with that. And you guys have started to answer this question, but what does it look like for you to think with, in light of your faith, what loving the clients that walk in your door looks like? And there's the fiduciary component, but what else would that potentially look like?
Sure. It looks different in our world depending on the type of client. We do a lot of wealth management in our firm, just as Jody does. We do trust under wills. We have a lot of trust babies, that have never had a W-2 in their life. And then we do a lot of personal injury lawsuit settlements in our firm. And so we have a lot of variety of clients. That trust baby requires a lot of patience, whereas maybe someone who had a birth injury and the child got a large settlement and that gets put in a trust. You've got people that have never, in a demographic that have never had a savings account. We have clients in that situation that don't even have a computer, so they don't do email. And it's not because now they can afford a computer, but they don't know how to use it. They don't know how to read and write. We have a lot of clients in rural Atlanta, and you're just going to see everything. Was at a client last year, knocked up the door to meet her for the first time. It was a birth settlement, and mom came to the door without a stitch of clothes on. And the baby didn't have any clothes on. Everybody just got out of the bathtub, and people are running around the house like it's just totally normal. And we did our meeting that way. But you know what? She's my neighbor. She's my client. And she was never taught to be anything different than that. And so you talk about an opportunity to be able to love somebody. At one point she did go get semi-clothed. But when she came back, you could tell she was very surprised that we weren't just, we'll come back or anything like that. But no, let's go in your living room. Let's do this. So I think those relationships and just knowing that your neighbor looks so different from client to client, and respecting those differences and understanding that not everybody comes from the same place I did or you did or anybody else. So, and I'll tell you, money doesn't make you smart. It doesn't make you clean. It doesn't keep you out of jail. Money has an ugly side too. And so, again, those are our neighbors.
Okay, I don't have a story that good. I'm thinking really some of the practical ways, unlike maybe some of the clients that Teresa has described, many of ours look similar, maybe a similar demographic, in that most of them come to us at points of transition in their lives financially, a change in job, a pre-retirement, an inheritance, things like that. So there is some level of similarity as far as, the perceived need for an advisor at that juncture. But I think the way we best serve them and see them as neighbors that we can love is, number one, being totally competent. And that's how we represent Christ as well. That we are excellent at what we do, that we are students of the business. We stay very relevant in, creative solutions for them. The other part is giving them time, driving to their home if that is necessary, but time. And we try to be very proactive, that we are reaching out to them, that it's time to meet and not waiting until the need is there. And I think they appreciate that. Sometimes I will ask them for permission to be persistent, because that's not my nature. And if I ask permission and you say yes, then I can do it. But as I'm sure you see, estate planning or things like that, it's easy to put off, so easy to put off. And so I think we love them by helping them achieve what they know they need to do by being pleasantly persistent. I think the ability to listen well, it is a relationship business. I love the way Teresa described it, but this is a sacred trust, a sacred trust. We had an open house at a number of years ago, and one of my daughters was able to be there. And I was so glad, because these clients of mine have asked about my children through the years as they've, come up. And my daughter made the comment to me that night. She said, "Mom, you know more about your clients than probably anybody else in their professional life. You know about their money. You know about their health. You know about their family relationships, for good or for bad." And so that sacred trust, I think it's built by giving adequate time. And I guess on a practical note, that would be, and this is a constant struggle for me, but creating margin. Sometimes meetings go long. Or sometimes, not sometimes, most times, the phone calls when a client really needs something is not when you booked availability in your calendar. So I think that's another way we love them.
When you guys think about other stakeholders that are in the industry you're part of, that you have to interact with that aren't necessarily the direct clients, you guys are both on teams that are larger than just yourself. Who are the stakeholders, and what does it mean to love and to think about the needs of those that either you work with or other stakeholders that are going to be a part of that process?
Well, I would probably start with, I've been thinking about this, who's my neighbor, and we all go to the story of the Good Samaritan, and it was in his course of his day when the Good Samaritan came upon this need and took the time and gave resources. And so as I was thinking about, who do I come in contact with other than clients, it would certainly be our teammates. And, loving them by similarly, maybe we're not giving the same amount of time as we do a client dedicated each and every week, but helping them build out a career plan, letting them, I love the way Matthew Kelly says in his book, Cultural Solution, he says, creating a place where team members, every person can become their best self. And that looks different for each person. So creating an environment where we're helping them be their best self. Ameriprise is our broker-dealer, and so we actually own a franchise. So we pay them a lot of money every month to run compliance and technology and things like that, but those are we call it, it's home office, but those are our corporate partners. And so the way we even interact with them is treating them as an extension of our team. For one thing, I don't want my team to be known for the ones that raise sand when something doesn't go well. I think about suppliers. We have, I know the first name of our FedEx driver. We give him a gift at Christmas. Somebody that we just have the ability to get to know. And then as a community, we want to be involved and love people through even if it's through the firm, in the community. Service, being generous. I'm thinking about First Things First, being so generous with their space. We want to do that. We're in a new space. You're about to be in a new space. And so loving the community really through our firm, through what we get to do every day. Yeah.
Well, I met a lot of new neighbors in the Dallas airport at midnight last night. And then I met some more at the Knoxville airport around 3 a.m. this morning. And it really was. And I thought of this when we were there because everybody had their phones out and everybody was like, okay, because we all needed to be in Chattanooga. There were about 100 neighbors that needed to be in Chattanooga. And, we all had a reason why we just had to be back in Chattanooga, to the point that at some point I heard about a van and an 11-hour drive and somebody willing to do it. I'm going, oh my gosh, no, please don't let that be the solution. But we were helping each other, and it was like, okay, you can get to Huntsville. Well, I can go to Huntsville, and then we can, okay, well, and then there was like 6 of us that ended up in Knoxville. So, those were my neighbors. They were truly interested in what was going on in my day-to-day. And so, as I said, I've got my 4 best neighbors here today, and learning what will help them have a better day is such, it's a treat. It's a treat. I know Malia, and I know she's going to sit out there and barely go to the restroom and barely poke her head out. And I say, Malia, go home early. And she looks at me like, okay, and she never does. And then Pam, I have to be careful what I ask her to do because she'll never say no. And poor Wendy, she doesn't get the opportunity to say no. She's my right arm, so she does everything for me. And with Debbie, I have to say, Debbie, this can wait 2 days because she's going to drop everything and do it today. And so I think learning and loving our coworkers well, and helping them to be in a position where they can be a good neighbor. Debbie's got a whole team of people, and everybody's got clients, and Pam has 1,000 checks to cut, and Malia talks to 17 utility companies in a day, and cable. She does cable. And so loving them well and understanding what they need to have a better day is really the most important thing that I do during the day. Outside of our team, my neighbors are, we work with a lot of financial advisors. We work with a lot of attorneys, a lot of personal injury attorneys, and, they have a class all to themselves. And, but, not everybody we're going to encounter in a day is going to have had a good day and be lovable. And I think figuring out how to handle those, and I'm at an age and stage, I'm 56 years old, and I'm at an age and stage where I'm finding myself just being a little more patient to that. And just a little more, you know what, that wasn't personal to me. That something else is going on with my neighbor. That's not personal. They're not upset with me. And I think those are the things that, as we think about our neighbor, showing the grace and the compassion when maybe they don't deserve it is probably the hardest part, but I think it's very important.
I love how you both talked about seeing someone not just for their task, or not just for, those are things that you're saying are not on your job description, but seeing them holistically. And that's really cool. Well, I asked you guys to speak because not only are you really good at what you guys do, but you also love Jesus and you're people of faith. That's a big part of your life. And I don't know if you'd be willing to share any biblical principles or verses that really inform your work and encourage you in the things that you do on a daily basis.
Wow, I think, did you want to go first? Okay. I can't remove, as if my love of Jesus is a lens that I could remove. So it's hard for me to think, how would this be different if I were not a Jesus lover? So through my eyes, I believe that he wants me to do my absolute best. And that sounds so simple, but that plays out back to competence and care. And so that is a huge principle, and thinking of others first. This idea of putting the needs of others first. I mean, whether it's in a client relationship where it's all about their best interest, but even, career development for our team, and putting the needs of what this individual, to the extent that we can within the framework of what we do, what their needs are, and time to mentor or whatever. Rick Warren, I think it was Rick Warren, that says, this humility is not thinking less of yourself. You have to have a sober judgment of your strengths and your giftedness. So not thinking less of yourself, but thinking of yourself less. And so that is, a principle of really just trying to see beyond how I'm impacted, and the Lord just leads that and gives you eyes to see that if you ask him to.
And that is exactly, falls in line. I love that. I love that quote. We have a sign in our office. Jonathan's seen it many times, I'm sure, that heads out as you head out the door, and it says, "I am third." And it's just it's a great reminder for our team that we have God, we have our family, and then we're next. So, think about ourselves less. And I believe if you gave Wendy the microphone and asked her what Teresa's motto is, she would say, work hard and do the right thing. And like you said, that's simple, but I tell my team all the time. I also say, be sure you can justify it to a judge. I say that regularly. But work hard and do the right thing. And if you do those things, if you really do those things, you're going to impact your neighbors more than you can even try to.
We talk about loving your neighbors, but I'd love to know for you all, sometimes this industry can be, oh, we're just making the rich richer, or this isn't really kingdom work, not working with poverty. Can you talk about what your hopes are for the folks that come through your doors that you get to serve? What it might look like, why this is an important thing for the people you serve. And yes, you guys are making a living doing it, but why does this matter? And why is this something that, what do you hope they take away from that time with you and working with your team?
Sure. This came up at our firm very recently in the last 6 months. And I really had to stop and stand back and go, well, this person's kind of right. We do make people that have a lot of money more money. And so we talked about it as a team. We've talked about it as a leadership team. And I really think for us, for Southeastern Trust Company, it came down to we feel very called to teach our clients and help our clients be good stewards. And we have a lot of clients that give so much to charities, and Chattanooga is such a great giving community. I love making rich people richer here because they give it away. But even if they don't give it away, they've entrusted me. I'm a fiduciary. That is a legal term of a commitment and an obligation to do everything we can for that client. And while that may not involve sending someone to the mission field, it's my little mission field, and I can impact people to the best of my ability, and I can help them grow their wealth so they can impact others. Or, I've got clients that are atheists, but you know what? That's okay. I'm hired and called to be their fiduciary. And so I think the Bible calls us to do what we do and do it well. And that doesn't mean this kind of business is for everybody. And I said this to this person. I'm like, if that's not what, if you really can't do that with a good open heart to God, then go do something else. I recommended the Peace Corps. He didn't like that. But not everybody can do that. And that's okay. It's okay. But I have total peace in the fact that God has called us, our company, to be the very best stewards over all the wealth that we have, whether it's great wealth, medium wealth, or small wealth. Whatever it is, we are called to do it well.
That's good. I love this question because what do I hope for them? What do I wish for them? What do I pray for them? I think the reason that Scripture talks about money so much is because our Maker knows us and knows what money has the ability to do to us. And so I sometimes tell my clients, my goal for you is that, first off, that you receive clarity around where you are, where you're going. We give clarity. But then we give confidence that you can go forward knowing that the planning has been done, and you can be confident so that will lead to contentment. And I think that is what the Lord wants for individuals, for married couples, less anxiety. I hope and pray for my clients who are married that our work together creates unity in their marriage. That is something I do pray for over them, because it can certainly be a source of conflict, most of it. I would hope that, as we were talking about neighbors, I would hope for my clients that they feel loved by us. If you're not, I'll pick on doctors, there's not enough time to develop relationship with a doctor to know he may really care about you, but do you feel loved by him? So I just think we don't put ourselves in a position to develop relationships where you could truly say that you love and feel loved. And I think ours is that sacred trust where we're able to do that. I would wish that for them. Similarly, not all of my clients are Christian. We don't market ourselves only to work with Christians, because I want there to be a missional element here, that someone who doesn't profess to believe can still see that how we do what we do is informed by who we serve. But so the way I might talk about it is different to a believer versus none, but my advice doesn't change. You know, we may get to share a scripture or share something, personal as how God is moving in our individual lives, but the advice doesn't change. So.
I remember having lunch with a pastor one time who was a pastor at a pretty wealthy church, and he was saying, I came to this job wondering if I was ever going to get to care for the poor, and he said it reminded me, and we kind of tied it back into something that the Chalmers Center talks a lot about, is that poverty we all have poverty. And sometimes it's a poverty of finances, but poverty of relationship, a poverty of love. And so oftentimes we might be called, and you guys, and I hear you saying this, you're called into walk with people maybe who don't have a poverty of finances, but they have a chance to walk with them in relationship in really cool ways. I think that's neat. One thing, I want to go back to a question I skipped, I think we'll have time for it, is we've been talking a lot about how you personally are trying to love neighbors, but you both are in leadership of companies where culture is being created. And so we talk about loving the employees, but Jody, with you and your husband, Teresa, you and Bart and Mike, what does it mean for you guys to create a culture that embodies the things we're talking about that are personally convictions for yourself?
Well, from the beginning, when we're bringing on a new team member, we certainly cannot ask them what their faith system is, but we can share what ours is. And we can just say our faith does inform how we run the business. And so, as they proceed through a process, they kind of know that to expect at least that our decision making is going to be formed by our faith. Tuesday mornings are staff meetings, and for the first hour, it's everybody on the team, and then we break up into, units based on what needs to be discussed. And, to say that we start those with prayer, we do, but that is a lot more to me than just, let's say, a prayer before we get started. It is a time that really sets the tone for exhaling all that we've got to do. We've got a big client coming in, got an upset client on the phone, all that. Just exhale that for the moment and inhale the knowledge of the one that owns it all and that he wants to grant wisdom. And so that's one way, is just setting the tone as a group. We have, and this is not something I'm really even comfortable sharing, because it's not the kind of thing that you want to sound like, oh, look what we're doing. But in light of the question, we have our receptionist keeps a prayer list of clients that are going through things or that have suffered great loss. And it's just an internal thing among the team. And so we are praying for our clients, and we want them to know that. And that means a lot to them. Sometimes they will actually call now and say, will you please be praying? I've got a big test or whatever. And then this same staff member, we've given her the margin to call and check back. We have been praying. How are you? How are things? Are you, recovering? And that has just been a way to show, the love of Jesus that way. We tend to look for reasons to celebrate. If somebody has passed an exam, hey, we are your team that's going to rah-rah and squeal with you. Our staff meetings, as I said, are on Tuesdays, and so most months there are 4 Tuesdays in the month, and so we have an agenda for each of those 4, make sure everything gets covered once a month. But we get about 3, it's going to be 4 this year, Peter. We have 4 months that have a 5th Tuesday. And so in a spirit of Jubilee, we take that 5th Tuesday, and that is Celebration Day. And so during that staff hour, we choose to talk about what is good in the world, what has happened, what is good that just doesn't get a lot of media coverage. What's good with you? one of my favorite times in the office is Monday mornings and hearing the chatter of what'd you do this weekend, what's the new restaurant, did your teams win, all those things. So this relationship is being built there. And so then we were celebrating alongside, we're doing life. And so I think just in a world where they're all too quick to tell us all that's wrong and scary and fearful, can we celebrate what warmed my heart yesterday? Can we celebrate, what I'm excited about? So those are some of the ways we do it.
We like to say that we're not a Christian company. We are a company that is led by Christians. And we make that pretty clear in an interview process, or, you really can't visit our offices without seeing it. And so we want a culture of faith and love. And we tell people we're interviewing, we pray at staff meetings, and this is, if you're uncomfortable with that, that's okay. It doesn't mean, as long as you're okay with it, doesn't mean we're not going to hire you. But just to set that culture coming in. And we have our meetings on Mondays, and once a month we come together as a team and celebrate the monthly birthdays on that Monday. And we have an office in Nashville and an office in Atlanta. And so we try to get everybody here and just fellowship. I mean, I don't know how much work gets done that day, but except for operations, but they work every day. But I think it's very important, especially when you have multiple offices in cities, to bring everybody together and just, like you said, just how was your weekend? What's going on? And we have group text within our teams where, hey, something's going on. Will you pray for me? And it's not all 15 people. There may be a text with 6 on it. There may be one with 3 on it, depending on what's going on and how much you want to share. But that's a very common occurrence in our office, is to get a text saying, hey, please pray about something. And as we've grown, that's been something that we've tried to, it's really our best asset, is our people and our culture. And as companies get larger, boy, does that become a challenge. And so, and then being separated in different cities, it's even worse. But I do believe that our culture is really how we keep good people. I don't believe people most of the time when they leave a company, it's because of the culture. I think statistically, it's usually not the money or things like that. They don't enjoy the culture. They don't enjoy going to work. And so I think it is our best asset. And I think as leaders in the company and as non-leaders, as whatever you do at your place, you have a piece of the culture. You are a piece of the culture, whether you lead a team, whether you're, solo on your day-to-day stuff, but you're affecting that culture. And it's a daily reminder we all need to remember.
So one last question for me, and then we'll have a few minutes if anyone has any questions you want to ask about. We got people in the room. Some are in financial planning, wealth management. A lot of people aren't, though. They're in different industries around town. How would you encourage those, no matter what they're doing, to kind of cultivate this idea of love in a business context, in this setting that's different than when you're sitting in Bible study or with your next door neighbor at your house, but in the places you're called to be? What would be some encouragement you give to folks as they go back to all the different industries represented in this room? How do you posture yourself? How would you encourage them to do that?
Want to go? You want me to? Go ahead. Okay. I don't want to assume I always go first. I think I would encourage you to encourage others. To be an encourager. That is something the world needs. And so to be that person that is willing to encourage and ask and whether it's an interaction with a teammate or with a client or with a wholesaler or whatever, I think showing up for people You don't have to have the right words. Just showing up is tremendous. And, we don't often have many that we know we can count on for that. So that is a way to really love people, by just being available. And the other, I guess that part there is your action, your willingness, because sometimes people will say to me, well, I know how busy you are, ... I'm thinking, you know what? I'm no busier than anybody else. And so I am happy to share anything I might be, whatever it is you're asking for, some time, whatever, because you're worth it. And so I think treating people as people, seeing the humanity in every business relationship, if it's a home office employee, if it's whatever, seeing the humanity there, that's a story wrapped up in a person, and be the encourager for them to be their best self. It's kind of my mantra.
I would say celebrate your differences within your company and your organization and within your neighborhood. To not be afraid of that. Sometimes we shy away from that, and so just understand people and their differences, and be flexible, and be okay if everybody doesn't think exactly like I do, and I'm saying that to myself. And then I would say communicate. If you're going to have a good neighbor and you're going to love people well, you have to put yourself out there and talk to them and communicate with them, even if you're busy or not busy or whatever kind of day you're having. Communication, I think, is really, when it comes to culture and it comes to our neighbors and it comes to our daily life, I believe that is the key to understanding each other and being a better neighbor. And like you just said, helping other people be their best self. You have to communicate to do that.
Speaking the truth in love sometimes. Yeah, that's good. Well, can we thank them for giving their time and sharing their wisdom? We do have a couple minutes left. I want to stop. I want to be really respectful of your time and be done right at 1. But we have a few minutes left if anyone has any questions you'd like to ask. Just curious from what you've heard so far.
Well, there are numerous certifications, and I think it would just begin with who do you want to serve? Do you want to serve individuals? Do you want to serve companies? And I'd love to take this offline to talk more about those various certifications. And the industry has actually gotten a little bit better that you can get your feet in the water a little bit before you've made the decision to be employed. I think the first half of the SIE, you can actually take on your own, and then you can come to a company and say, I've already kind of done this on my own. Used to be, you had to have the company's endorsement, and they sponsor you. So I'd love to talk more about maybe who you are interested in serving and give you a little bit of direction on. Would you add anything?
And the only thing I would add is when we're looking, for a new person that's new to not necessarily new to the industry, they've got some finance background. I will say that some of the things we touched on today, your communication skills and your ability to be able to process in the interview and people you're talking to, that you care about people, to show that you have the empathy and the understanding to love people. Because again, this is next to God and family. We're at the money level, right? And so I think to be able to, and again, offline would be great, because I think that's what I look for. I like certifications, but hey, I can send you to school and pay for those, but what I'm looking for is someone who's going to connect on a human level with that person that has great wealth. And that's not particularly easy to do always. So it's that communication, that relational skills. I think in our business today, because again, we can train you, but start thinking how you can improve those skills on a personal level.
Well, I do want to be respectful of y'all's time. I've asked if they could hang just a little bit. So if you want to hang around and ask questions, please do so. But can we just thank them one more time for giving an hour of time? Teresa sleeping 4 hours this morning to come in and do this. So thank you guys for being here. Thank you to First Things First for letting us use this space today. If you don't know about First Things First, they're a wonderful nonprofit in town that supports families here in Chattanooga, but now that's changed to everywhere around the world, and really around the world, around our country. And so thank you for the work you do and for letting us be in this beautiful space. On the table, there's a QR code. If you're not already getting our newsletter and you would like to know about future things that we have coming down the pipeline, feel free to sign up using that QR code. You feel free to take those little brochures with you. Our next Lunch and Learn event is going to be on December 6th with Kenyatta Ashford. He's a chef in town, as well as it's with Jay Boyd, who's the owner-operator of Odd Story Brewing. We're going to talk about what it means to love your neighbor in the food and hospitality industry. And so keep a lookout for our location and the time and all that. That's coming December 6th, though. Let me pray for us, and then we'll close up. Lord, thank you so much for this beautiful day that you've given us. Thank you for these beautiful people. Lord, thank you that you first loved us. As we talk about loving others, thank you, God, that the truth is that you already love us so much. And as we're called into these different places of work in these different industries, Lord, give us eyes to remember that you love us, and in the imagination to know what you're calling us and who you're calling us to love. Lord, I thank you for Teresa and Jody and the work they do in their industry and the way they serve their clients and the ways that you've gifted them to meet the needs of their clients in ways that they feel whole and full. We pray that you would bless their businesses and their families. Lord, I pray for everyone sitting in the audience as they go back to their place of employment, the different things that they're called to do today. May you go before them. May they be encouraged to honor you, not only in the relationship, but in the work that they're called to do. We give you all of our lives. In your name we pray. Amen. Thanks, y'all.